What is going on, gamers? It is your boy QKG, and I'm sure you guys knew this was coming. If you've been around on this channel for a long time, you know how much your boy loved that Nintendo Switch. So we gotta go ahead and review the Nintendo Switch 2. In this review, I'm gonna be giving you just all of the truth of the Nintendo Switch 2. This is just not coming from somebody out here sucking the Nintendo schmeat. This is gonna be somebody giving you the facts, somebody who's had a Nintendo Switch 1, somebody that has a Steam Deck, somebody that can give you the comparisons and at least talk about the system and let you know what's going on. And without further ado, let's waste no more time. Let's jump into it. So of course, to start off with the Nintendo Switch 2, just what is the system in of itself? And this gives me more of a PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 type of transition, where the Nintendo Switch 1 and the Nintendo Switch 2, they're very similar in ways, except the Nintendo Switch 2 just builds upon everything that Switch 1 foundation laid. So this time around, they made sure they tried to tackle some of the biggest issues that were from the Nintendo Switch 1. They definitely complained about the Joy-Con drift, the Joy-Con size in of itself, those teeny little shits. So when you're actually just looking at the system, although it does look like a bigger just Nintendo Switch, this one actually has a little bit more features that are packed into the system. So you're actually going to have the Joy-Con mouse control feature. That's actually kind of the biggest upgrade that I was looking forward to, because not only they were trying to bridge the gap between mobile and console, now it seems like they're tackling PC next. So the Joy-Cons having that built-in feature of having just that mouse control by simply turning your Joy-Con on its side and it automatically switches to mouse control, not gonna lie, that's some wavy shit. Come on, get this work, baby! Right now, Fortnite's like the main game that I tested this on, and I did come from playing Fortnite on keyboard and mouse in its early stages, and those mouse control features actually transition very, very well. So when I was playing Fortnite, for an example, all of your X, Y, A, B buttons, they're pretty much all the same, even how you click in the analog stick to do your power slides. The function and just the overall feel of the mouse Joy-Con was actually pretty comfortable. The one thing I will say, it took some time for me to get used to. Like earlier on, I kept sticking out my middle finger for some reason. I kept sticking that out, and that ended up causing my hand to cramp up a little bit. So luckily, people with smaller hands are not really going to have an issue with the mouse controls, but my medium hand having ass had to actually mind the way that I actually gripped it, so just keep that in mind when you're using it. There's actually this new C button for the actual game chat. Now, a lot of people have been ripping this game chat a new one just because things like Discord, you know, are alive and free. The thing about the Nintendo Switch game chat is that it's going to be compatible with certain Nintendo Switch games. So if you do want to play like Mario Kart or Super Mario Party Jamboree and have your camera and be inserted into the game. So in the future, I'm going to keep my eye out to see like which games are really going to utilize some of those features. The one thing that used to grind my gears was whenever I used to have my OG Switch and I would play handheld mode, and at a certain angle I might pop that right Joy-Con up at the bottom and it starts to slide out and it disconnects mid gameplay. So the fact that they are magnetic, I didn't have those detaching moments, and the fact that they're not detaching at random moments just because of the way I'm holding it is a much better improvement. The analog sticks have also been a big upgrade. I like the way they feel, and I will definitely like to keep my eyes out for any drift in the future. So usually Joy-Con drift doesn't happen. When I first had my OG Switch, it was like maybe 4 or 5 months. That's when I started getting drift. So moving on to the actual system, it is a definite upgrade from the Nintendo Switch 1. You're gonna have smoother frame rates. So we're talking 120 FPS in portable mode, and you can also get this boy running on a 4K TV if you got the juicy shit. The hardware being more beefier, this is actually going to help you when you're playing some of your back catalog. This will be the biggest surprise to you and probably one of the biggest value points. So I know you will see those Nintendo Switch 2 upgrades like Hogwarts Legacy got one, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom got it. So certain games, even though they don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 version, you still might actually get bumped up frame rates if the game was developed with an unlocked frame rate. So when you boot those games up that have those locked frame rates, the only thing you're going to notice different is that it's going to load a little bit faster, and that's pretty much it. But the games that have the unlocked frame rates, you're going to instantly see the difference. Games that were not even playable, like for an example, WWE 2K18, the game could play with like 1 or 2 characters, but the second you had a 6-man or Finn Balor's entrance hit, the game lagged like ass. So when you had like a lot of pyro going on, if you really were making like a lot of characters and stuff like that, sometimes the game would crash just because it couldn't handle it, or just a bunch of other issues would come into play. And ever since I got the game on Switch 2, I haven't even crashed once, which is crazy. I was able to make a full character, entrance, moveset, and everything, and not have the game crash on me one time. So that told me that not only was this hardware boost just good for upcoming games, this is going to be beneficial to your backlog as well. Games like Mortal Shell, I was this close to reviewing right before the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, and as soon as I booted that game up, I was like, hey, yo! Like, I've noticed, like, some games aren't necessarily perfect. Like, when I played WWE 2K18, I went a little too crazy on the entrances, and it had, like, a slight little lag here and there. Even though you do get a boost in performance from these games. Not gonna say they're perfect, but at the same time, I haven't crashed once, so I'm just like, aside from all the other bugs and glitches that are in some of these games that never got ironed out, it's still a pretty good experience to like replay them again. It's still pretty cool to see that I can actually go back and play the game. Some areas be fixed just by a hardware boost, so you can still get some enjoyment out of the game. So with some of my positives of the system out of the way, I gotta dive into some of these negatives and let y'all know some of the things I did not like. And right off the bat, this one is burnt into my noodle, and this is the Wi-Fi adapter in the actual Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think it's the best, or whatever the wireless communications device they have in there is not the best. We were playing Mario Kart World, me and Jess on stream, and I had this shit literally disconnect, and she was like 3 feet away from me. I just don't want them to do like another like what the fuck just happened? No, it said error occurred and kicked me out. What? Yeah, it just kicked me out. We weren't even connected to the internet. It was just wireless communication, just the switches connected to each other. I don't know if this is going to be something that can be patched out, you know, in a couple different updates here and there. If that can kind of fix the problem, I would hope so. The other negative I have on the Switch 2 is actually the game keycards. I still am not a fan of the game keycards. However, I have known they have been around for the Switch 1 life cycle. Like when I found out Doom on the physical copy, they didn't have the multiplayer on the actual cartridge. Then I found out some of these other games, like they just will ship the cartridge out with minimal amount of data. Mortal Kombat 11, game keycard. Hogwarts Legacy, game keycard. There's a lot of these games that have come out throughout the Switch's life cycle, especially third party, they've been game keycards. Now, the other big controversy with the Switch 2 was Mario Kart World, and a lot of people saying like, hey yo, this shit overpriced, $80, that's too many schmeckles. Like, a lot of people were saying that's way too much for Mario Kart World because it just looks like Mario Kart 8, you know, DLC. Looking at the game, like visual wise, it's not a big jump from Mario Kart Deluxe. And I know Mario Kart Deluxe was technically a Wii U game, and then the Switch just pretty much stretched the rest of that game out. Mario Kart World is kind of a divisive game. Like, if you look at the game's open world aspect, you will find people that absolutely will praise it and say how fun it is, and you will find some people that's like, this shit ass ain't those fire cliff. So you're gonna find people saying a lot of different things about the open world. Now, I've been playing a good bit of Mario Kart throughout my years, but this one is just as addictive as all the other ones. This time around, instead of just separate tracks that you can just play on and choose from, all of the tracks are interlinked in between each other, so you can actually go into a free roam mode and just go through all of these tracks or go off tracks and just have, you know, some really weird adventures if you really want to. The knockout tour is the most addictive part of this game. This is just Mario Kart Battle Royale. If you think this shit sweet in this game, you will get bodied. Once you play knockout tour, you will see how cutthroat it really is and how crazy the gameplay is. It's really, really wild. I just couldn't believe how fun a Mario Kart Battle Royale could be, and it's really quickly becoming my favorite game mode out of Mario Kart World. So overall, the Nintendo Switch 2, I have been thoroughly surprised with this system. I did not expect to get this much value out of it thus far, but just looking at the whole picture of it, I see why this does not speak to a lot of people who didn't get a Switch 1. But at the same time, I can also argue and say, hey, you can pick up the Switch 2 and then you can play all of those Switch 1 games. And like I showed you, some of the ones that have those unlocked frame rates, they're just going to get boosted instantly. Some games may have already gotten a Switch 2 update, possibly for free. That's how I've been replaying Pokemon Scarlet. So there's a lot of different value points that I have on the Nintendo Switch 2 that I'm like, this thing is a beast. And then seeing some of these games that are on the way, and this is just within the first wave. And I already know there's some games that I'm gonna have to go ahead and try out, like Street Fighter 6 and Cyberpunk. I really want to see how those games run on the console just in real life. And I know surprisingly a lot of people didn't notice any of the updates when it came to Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, but when I played it in person, it was definitely noticeable, and it was just a much smoother experience. And that's how I've actually been able to kind of get back into the game, because I was slacking, but it was heavy in my backlog, and now I can finally get back to it. That the system fully has enough power to actually run some of these beefy games. And for people who have the Steam Deck, I would definitely say, like, power-wise, it's almost neck and neck in like so many different areas. I have seen the Switch run certain games better than the Steam Deck. I've seen the Steam Deck run some games better than the Switch. So I'm very, just, I don't know, it's like I'm torn between the two systems. I would definitely say just get both. I know a lot of people may think like, oh, if I have one decision, which one would I get? Steam Deck, the game library just overall on PC is going to be much bigger anyway. But that does not mean you're going to be able to play everything, and sometimes it takes a while to get those games to work, or you're just going to have to do a little bit more tinkering to get them to work. So it's not impossible, but you're just going to have to do a little bit more tinkering. Some games, like God of War, which I will say forever, no matter what I've done to it, it just does not want to work on my Steam Deck. Steam Deck, even though it does have a juicy game library, like there are definitely some games that you can play that are definitely not available on the Switch, so it has its value there. Like a lot of people don't know that the PC side of things, like you're gonna get Left 4 Dead 2, which if you've never played Left 4 Dead 2, you need to play the PC version. It has mod support. It is a whole nother world, so it has exclusive capabilities there. And then on the Nintendo Switch 2, like you're not going to be able to get those exclusives anywhere else. Like you're not going to get it on Xbox, PC, or anything, you know, with legal means. You're not going to be able to get it unless you get a Nintendo Switch 2. And when you look at the Nintendo Switch 2 side of things, you're going to notice that the games are designed to run on the system's hardware at its maximum capacity. Instead of having to tinker around with the game like how you have to do with certain games that may not run good or even supported on the Steam Deck. So that's kind of like the trade-offs that I can think about. Like the games are actually designed to run on the system, where you're going to get some games that are Steam Deck compatible, but you're going to have maybe that one game that you really want to play and that shit is unsupported. So that's just the best way I can describe some of those trade-offs. So overall, on the Nintendo Switch 2, I will definitely say I highly recommend this system. It has been a blast. I have not put it down since I got it. I've been loving all the features and just been having fun testing out some of those games that either didn't run good enough on the Switch 1 and just seeing, oh my god, it's running again, and blah, blah, blah. It's been really fun just to play around with the system, and then everything that's coming, I'm like hyped for. Donkey Kong Bonanza's been looking crazy, and I have been saying it so much. I need to get back and play Daemon X Machina, because Daemon X Machina 2 looks magnificent, and I know a lot of people can't wait for Metroid Prime 4, and I can finally play it at all its juicy greatness and fully soak in the game that I've been waiting for the last like 7-8 years. But overall, man, the Nintendo Switch 2 is a definite must pick up. I would recommend just getting the Mario Kart World bundle. You're gonna want to play Mario Kart World anyway, and you might as well just not pay the $80 for it. But that's what I would recommend to save you a little bit of them schmeckles. So as always, I would love to thank you guys for tuning into this video, and please in the comments down below, let me know what you think about the Switch 2. Let me know if you have any games that you're looking forward to. Let me know if you have a Steam Deck, any games you've been playing recently that are fire. Just let me know in the comments down below. So that is all I got for you, my dogs. It is your boy QKG, and peace out.